Technically, I should probably lower the blinds so that I have like nice, even YouTube lighting, but how could I possibly do that? She's so happy. Fuck it. We're leaving those open.
When you need some dough, you don't know where to go in this patriarchal capitalist hellscape. Well, here's the sitch. We're gonna help you, sis, because bitches get riches. Bitches get riches. Bitches get riches. Bitches get riches. And so can you.
Something tells me that many of our readers are contemplating political campaign donations right about now. Don't ask me how I know this. I really couldn't say. Maybe it's my woman's intuition, which is definitely not a conditioned hypersensitivity to threatening nonverbal communication under the patriarchy, but cool evolution magic that heightens with my fertility cycle.
She's ovulating right now.
What?
Is this my first time referencing The Devil's Advocate? I don't know how that can be when I have a passionate, lifelong obsession with this high camp masterpiece. Okay. If Kamala Harris wins in 2024, I will remake Bitches Get Riches into a Devil's Advocate fan blog. And if Donald Trump wins, I will remake Bitches Get Riches into a Devil's Advocate fan blog. So either way, it's going to be called A Billion Eddie Barzoons All Jogging Into the Future.blogspot.com.
Eddie Barzoon. Ha!
I know that every year we say the stakes have never been higher, but every election year it keeps feeling accurate. I know that our readers are really passionate about issues and they want to know, does donating to a political campaign actually work? Can it make a candidate more likely to win? Is it worth the sacrifice if money's already tight for you? So I'm going to do my best to give you some objective perspective on this. Hoo-ah! My hoo-hawing scared baby. I'm sorry I hoo-hawed at you. Did that scare you? Oh, I know, Al Pacino's so scary. She's back. For our non-US readers, this advice is obviously framed through my very American perspective, but I do think that the broader take is valuable for anyone who lives in a voting democracy. I would love to hear a few international perspectives in the comments. To help you understand the campaign donation options that are even open to you, let's imagine a person who would want to donate to a political cause. Let's say her name is, I don't know, Schwalda. God, I am so good at names. Nameberry should make me their king. I would wear a crown made out of the bones of children named Emma and Mason.
All shall love me and despair.
Okay, so like all sane and rational people, Schwalda is dismayed about politics right now. She's not a single issue voter, but let's say that reproductive freedom is at the top of her mind right now. It sits at this intersection of a lot of stuff that she really cares about. In the short term, abortion access is something that directly affects her life and the lives of all of her friends. And in the long term, she really sees how this issue influences even bigger things like women's rights and the economy and the environment. And this is a friendly reminder that we have a really good article on how to get an abortion. If you need that, it's here. Obviously, Schwalda plans on voting. She's already visited Vote.gov to instantly verify that her voter registration is still active. When's the last time you checked your voter registration? Why can't you be more like Schwalda? But she feels strongly enough to go even further. She's got, let's say, $100 that she's willing to spend. How can Schwalda most effectively use her money to donate it to a political campaign? Let's look at the options. If it's not already obvious, I am writing this just ahead of the 2024 presidential election. So readers from the future, let me know how it all turned out. My email address will be admin@a billion Eddie Barzoons all jogging into the future.blogspot.com. So Schwalda could send her money directly to the Democratic candidate for president, Kamala Harris. And under federal law, individuals can give up to $3,300 to campaigns. So Schwalda's $100 is no problem. Now, I'm going to breeze over a lot of information about campaign donation limitations and the many, many strategies for getting around them, I assume that our readers are more familiar with the salty kiss of ramen noodles than the inky cotton fragrance of thousands of dollars that you want to just give away. So if the latter reader does exist, we welcome you to lighten our load at our Patreon. I will start a new donor tier just for you. The perk will be that Jess and I will personally send you mifepristone whenever you want it. Also, I'm going to bitterly note that this number may not be correct for very long, as campaign finance donation limitations are adjusted for inflation every single fucking year, unlike the minimum wage, which has not budged since Party in the USA was at the top of the charts. Which, by the way, is it, Miley? Is it really a Party in the USA? Earning $7.25 an hour does not make me want to nod my head like yeah, nor move my hips like yeah. I'm so brave taking such a stand here. Okay, so wait. When I go to Kamala Harris's website, I actually don't see an option to donate directly to her campaign fund. Instead, I only see an option to donate to something called Act Blue. Now, Act Blue is a PAC. See, big ticket politicians actually really don't want direct donations. They vastly prefer to collect money through PACs, which are political action committees. And I'm going to highlight 3 big reasons why these things are so popular. First, the donation limitations are completely different. Normal PACs can collect almost twice as much money, and super PACs can collect kind of an unlimited amount. Second, PACs can give candidates cover. In America, the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, requires candidates to say, "I'm me and I approve this message" after every ad. And it's supposed to curtail baseless muckraking attack ads and make candidates actually stand behind their messaging, which is so noble. But a PAC can run negative ads without bringing the candidate's name into it. I think the Lincoln Project is a pretty good example of this, that you've probably seen their ads before.
Big, yellow, a menace to our economy. Mitt Romney knows it's not Wall Street you have to worry about, it's Sesame Street.
Third, PACs can spend that money a lot more flexibly. When a candidate loses or drops out, they have few options other than returning any unused campaign donations to their donors, but a PAC gets to keep that money. They may decide to refund it, to funnel it into another candidate, to roll it over toward their next election cycle, to give it to charity, really anything. They are not allowed to take the money and run, but they can do plenty of shady things that are only technically legal, like hiring their friends and family as consultants and paying them exorbitant salaries to basically launder that money away. Yay. But wait, aren't PACs evil? Yeah, because the preceding segment really didn't make them sound great, did it? PACs are a fantastic way for billionaires and corporations and even foreign powers to funnel unlimited amounts of what we call dark money into American elections. We think that the Supreme Court ruling that confirmed the legality of PACs, the infamous Citizens United, was a mistake, and that mistake should be undone by the legislature. But that does not mean that all PACs are bad. Like, I don't think it's morally right to breed dogs that can't breathe, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop petting the shit out of Quigley, your artsy aunt's hideous pug, whom we love. Is it too late for Quigley 2024? I'm buying the domain name. I think it's helpful to think of PACs kind of like high school clubs. They are coalitions of people who have come together to work on one thing that they are all passionate about. Some are very specifically oriented around electing one candidate to one position, but a lot of them are more general. Emily's List, for example, is a PAC that supports pro-choice Democratic female candidates. From our perspective, that is unquestionably a very worthy cause, and it might be a great place for someone like Schwalda to spend her $100 because they will strategically put it toward races where that money really matters the most. So how much money does a candidate actually need? Campaign fundraising has really skyrocketed in recent elections. Seriously, even if you know this fact, you probably don't grasp the actual unthinkable scope of it. The first presidential candidate that I ever voted for was Al Gore in 2000. Was this a mock election held at my middle school? Irrelevant. It's a vote I stand by. Thank you for all of your work on global warming and also Futurama, sir.
Dang, that $100 could have bought me 1 gallon of gas.
During his campaign, Al Gore raised $190 million. But in the last presidential election that I voted for just 5 cycles later, Joe Biden raised $3.2 billion in 2020. 17 Al Gore campaigns could live inside the house that Dark Brandon built. No political campaign is ever going to say, keep your money, we have enough. They will spend that money on advertising, fundraisers, rallies, campaign events, staff salaries, travel, and just general day-to-day expenses. So Schwalda's $100 could become a batch of lawn signs, or a fraction of a second on a TV ad, or half of a day's pay for a campaign bus driver. If a campaign gets a ton of donations, they'll simply scale those expenses up accordingly. So Schwalda wants to donate money because she wants the campaign to translate it into more votes. But that is much easier said than done. My research has led me to the conclusion that there are many factors that influence election outcomes more than total dollars spent. In presidential elections, raising more money is not correlated to winning. In recent memory, both John Kerry and Hillary Clinton outraised George W. Bush and Donald Trump, respectively. In non-presidential campaigns, the candidate who spends the most money does usually win. But it's probably not because they spent more money. I really like this quote from Richard Lau, who is a professor of political science at Rutgers. Quote, I think where you have to change your thinking is that money causes winning. I think it's more that winning attracts money. Some candidates are so personally charming or symbolically emblematic of a hot button issue that they inspire people to donate as well as vote. And that is the thrust of that correlation. People donate to exciting candidates, and exciting candidates also tend to win. For major candidates, like presidents and senators, the biggest expense for most campaigns is advertising, which is really interesting because studies have shown that political advertising might just be a massive waste of money. There's a lot of theories to explain this. I'm going to hit you with a few of them now. Fewer people read and watch traditional ad-supported media anymore, like newspapers and cable television. I know that Jess just visited her parents in a swing state, and it seemed like every 5 minutes Jeopardy was interrupted by politicians of various parties approving of messages. News coverage of major candidates is so widespread that voters are not relying on ads to inform their opinions anymore. If voters want to hear about a candidate, they get direct access through official websites and social media channels. Today's voters are very tightly aligned with their parties, meaning the letter next to a candidate's name is going to determine which box most voters will tick. And seeing too many negative attack ads might actually depress voter turnout as voters grow to feel disgusted by all options. No one has repeated a major study like this recently, which is a shame because I would really love to know how attitudes have evolved in the social media era. My hunch is that all of these things are true, just to different extents. Which honestly is a huge relief. I think elections may work the same way as the box office. Sure, you can't see an amazing movie if you don't know that it exists, but you also can't market away obvious duds. If the story isn't good and the characters aren't compelling, critics aren't going to like it and people aren't going to watch it. Some candidates are so personally magnetic or symbolically emblematic that they inspire people to donate as well as vote. Other candidates are the political equivalent of Morbius. No one wants them, and even the most inescapable marketing cannot change that.
It's Morbin time.
So is a political campaign donation actually worth it? Facts over, this is now my personal opinion. The way I see it, there are 2 valid answers to this question. The first is yes, donations to political campaigns are totally worth it, just not at the national level. Presidential campaigns these days are absolutely flooded with money, both light and dark. Schwalda's single solitary Benjamin is not going to make the difference between one presidential candidate and another. The money spent might actually have a greater influence if Americans had a direct democracy, but we don't. Republicans can keep losing the popular vote but winning the presidency because the Electoral College is designed to put its thumb on the scale for rural voters. I'm not trying to be a doomer about this, but unless Schwalda lives in a handful of swing states, honestly, her presidential vote is kind of a performative formality. But that does not mean you should not vote. Almost all of a voter's real power and agency is enacted through voting in state and local elections. Presidents might have a broad policy opinion on the housing crisis, but Joe Biden is not personally stopping anyone from putting up affordable apartment buildings. That would be the NIMBY assholes in your city council who actually control zoning appeals. Presidents can take a personal stance on social issues, but Donald Trump isn't going to personally walk into every middle school library in your district and snatch up every copy of The Hate U Give. But you know who is? Your elected school board members. The Supreme Court can't adjudicate more than a handful of cases every year. Real criminal justice reform starts with circuit court judges and district attorneys. If you live in a state that is due to redraw its districts, your vote for your next state legislator matters 1,000 times more than your vote for our next president. So, in my opinion, Schwalda's $100 would be far more impactful if it were donated to a small candidate down at the local level. Money spent locally makes a far bigger impact on both that tiny campaign's operations and also the kind of results that you can expect if they win. Also, hopefully it's going into your local economy instead of just vanishing. So that's my first take. Here's my second. No, donations to political campaigns are not worth it because you have something better than money to give. If Schwalda were my friend, and God, I hope she is, I would tell her to keep her $100. Spend it on takeout or a laundry service or a babysitter, anything that would free her up to make a more meaningful donation, which is her time. Volunteering is better than donating money to a political campaign. Because when you volunteer, you're not just actively helping the campaign, you are also saving them money. If you are stuffing envelopes, they don't have to hire someone to do it. By volunteering, you are essentially doubling the value of your donation. Volunteering is great in a lot of other ways too. Volunteering gets you inside of a campaign. You can actually see with your own eyes who the candidate is and how they work as a leader. You can meet people, you can develop friendships, you can learn new skills while volunteering. Hey, and you may have ideas or talents or connections that your would-be city clerk or town alderman could only dream of. And candidly, from what I have seen, these campaigns desperately need young folks. Sadly, we often leave civic duty to hobbyless blue hairs and retirees. I'm allowed to make fun of that demographic because I'm in it. If you can use a WYSIWYG editor like Canva or Squarespace, get ready to be hailed with reverence as a powerful shaman. So there you have it. That is our personal opinion that donating to a political campaign is fully optional, possibly even suboptimal. If you've ever felt guilty for not donating to a political campaign, I absolve thee. There are many great ways to engage civically that don't require you to spend money. Again, we expect that most of our readers are of limited means. The Ghost of Sheldon Adelson is a regular reader, but he doesn't count because it's his assigned punishment in hell. Normal life is already so unaffordable, and political campaigns are out there like a bunch of hungry hippos, texting and calling and always begging for more. Oh my God, once you get on their lists, you will never get off of it. It doesn't matter where you try to hide. No amount of money will ever be enough to satiate them, and I would just rather not participate on those terms. If money were no object, I might choose a PAC that aligns with my values and has a great track record, but even then, I'd probably donate to a charity that's already doing that work. Now, what I will do is this. I'm going to verify that I am registered to vote at Vote.gov. I'm going to encourage my friends to check their registrations too. I will put smaller regional election days on my personal calendar. We have links to help you do that. I will vote in every election, especially the non-presidential elections. I will remind local friends who might otherwise forget that those elections are happening. I will donate my time and talents to candidates who personally inspire me. I will keep my money for myself so I can be a pillar of stability within my family and my immediate community. Finally, I will reject the devil in all of his works, especially when his works are Connie Nielsen in a bad perm.
Whatever.
Hoo-ah! 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 I just did so many takes of hoo-ah. It is surprisingly difficult. Really, only he can do it. Donating to a political campaign is obviously a very personal decision, and I could definitely see some of our readers disagreeing with me on this one. I would love to hear from you guys about when, why, and how much you feel comfortable donating to political campaigns, so please sound off in the comments below. This is our first time experimenting with an audio-video format, as well as our normal written word on the blog, so I'm really curious to hear also what you think about this new format for us. Is it working for you? Are the dogs too distracting or not distracting enough? Please, I'd love to know. Today's article could not exist without our amazing Patreon community. Everything that we write is a labor of love, but it is a labor, and labor deserves compensation. Researching and writing is already very time intensive, and adding an audio version requires even more time to record and edit. So if our advice has helped you save some money, please kick a few bucks back to us over at patreon.com/bitchesgetriches. Patrons, we thank you from the bottom of our bitchy little hearts for your continued faith and support in everything that we do, including and especially when we choose to experiment like this. Just left a note here. Lauren does not have my permission to remake BGR into a Devil's Advocate fan site. Okay, well, that's your opinion, man. I answer to a higher authority, or should I say, a lower authority. All right, that's all. Bitches out.